Shalom and welcome to the One Pasuk podcast, in which three rabbis from Englewood, New Jersey, each share an insight on one particular pasuk from the Parsha and reflect on each other's ideas. Rabbinic banter, I like to call it. I am Rabbi Chaim Pupko of Congregation Ava Torah, and I'm joined by my dear friends and colleagues,
Rabbi Akiva Block, Kihilat Kesher,
and Rabbi Daniel Goldberg, Eitz Chaim, the Englewood Steeple.
Our one pasuk for this week, Parshas Vayishlach, comes from Bereshis, chapter 32, verse 11, Perek Lamed Beis, pasuk Yud Aleph, Katonti mikol hachasadim umikol ha'emes. Yaakov declares as he prays to Hashem before he encounters his brother Esav, Katonti, I am unworthy of all of the kindness and all of the emes, all of the truth, asher asisa es avdecha, that you have so steadfastly shown your servant. With my staff alone, I crossed this Jordan River, and now I have become two camps. Yaakov is preparing to reunite with his brother Esav. He is very afraid. He doesn't know if Esav is going to feel the same hatred and vengeance that he did when he fled his home. But let's see what the rabbis have to say about this pasuk.
There are many parts of Hasidic thought and Hasidic Torah which don't speak to me, but the part that does is the very often creative, insightful reads of Chumash that Hasidic Rebbes often have, and their insight in the human condition. And I saw a thought offered by the Chozeh of Lublin, Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak Harwitz, who was a late 18th century, early 19th century Hasidic Rebbe who was a student of the Maggid of Mezrich, very well known, of course, from Lublin. And the Chozeh has a beautiful, beautiful take on the first phrase in this pasuk. Katonti mikol hachasadim. The way, Rabbi Pupko, you translated it was, I'm unworthy of all of the chesed that has been provided to me. Says the Chozeh that maybe you can read it like this. Mikol hachasadim. From among all of the chasadim HaKadosh Baruch Hu that you've done for me, perhaps the greatest among them is Katonti. The chesed that you've done for me, Hashem, by allowing me to see my smallness, my humility, my meekness, if you will. Yaakov has engaged in all of these preparations for his meeting with Esav. He engages in diplomacy. He sends a mincha, a gift. He prepares his camp and prepares for war, just in case. Just in case. He practically prepares, and then he engages in tefillah in the next pasuk, Hatzileinu miyad achi miyad Esav. And Yaakov does all of these preparations because of the very real likelihood in his mind, and Rashi points this out as well, the very real likelihood in his mind that he may not succeed in his mission. The notion of humility is the thing, above all else, that motivates us, that inspires us to engage in Avodas Hashem, to reach out to Hashem in moments of crisis, to thank Hashem in moments of joy and gratitude. Katonti mikol hachasadim, the idea that if I am to do anything in this life that is meaningful, that is worthwhile, that is a valuable contribution to the world around me, it only can emanate from the notion of katonti, from the notion of that my sense of self-worth is real, but also with a certain perspective, that in the grand scheme of things, I am small. And really, I think the entire Jewish enterprise is this idea, the notion of katonti, that we are a part of something much larger than just ourselves. When we become too absorbed with our own self-worth, when we have this sense of spiritual arrogance that prevents us from seeing the virtue of things around us and actually learning from them, that's when we perhaps become inhibited in our ability to contribute meaningfully and actually to cultivate and strengthen our relationship with Hashem. Mikol hachasadim, from among all the chesed you've done for me, Hashem, I now, because I'm engaged in this process of trying to have a successful reunion with my brother, I've done all these things. I've come to realize as a result that amongst all the chasadim that you've done for me, perhaps chief among them is the notion of katonti.
I think about this a lot in the context of davening, that this is one of the gifts of a thoughtful, engaged experience of tefillah, where in the trenches of day-to-day life, everything seems so magnified and so big, and my troubles and my concerns seem like the end-all and be-all. And sometimes what davening can help reorient is a sense of smallness, that like, wow, God is great, and the world is so large, and I'm a really small blip in this magnificent Jewish history. And you widen the aperture, you widen the lens, and you say, oh, I'm small. It's not all about me, and the things that I'm dealing with in a week from now are not going to matter that much, if at all. And so that sense of smallness, of a self-awareness that you're small and there's a much bigger narrative going on is also, I feel like it's like a gift we give ourselves if we have an engaged tefillah of feeling we're standing before Hashem. So it resonated in that way.
This is the gift of tefillah b'tzibur. This is exactly why the optimum tefillah experience is not in solitude, but it actually is together with your friends and neighbors for a lot of different reasons. But one of them is that exact point, that the exercise of tefillah is actually meant to bring out from us that notion that it's not just about you. It's actually coming together as a tzibur, and to tell us that actually the most pristine form of your relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is you as a member of Klal Yisrael. You know, Hashem Yitbarach Tamid Ohev Oti is a song we like to sing, but theologically, perhaps the better formulation is Hashem Yitbarach Tamid Ohev Otanu. And maybe by extension, Hashem Yitbarach Tamid Ohev Oti, but because I am a part of something larger than just myself. So the katonti really is the stepping stone. It is the kind of the building block, the foundation for our relationship with Hashem. And that's what...
You couldn't just let us have the song. I mean, the song is so fun, so beautiful.
This was the subject of my sermon on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. And so it's been close to my heart for quite some time. I love the song. I sing the song all the time. And hey, is there anything more beautiful than completely secular Jews breaking out into the song of, it's just so inspiring and incredible. But if you reflect on the song, which we should do, always reflect anyway.
Yeah, it's like one of my rebbeim once said that he doesn't like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Anachnu Ohavim Otcha. Just, we love you, we love it. No, you have to then do the next verse has to be Anachnu Yiriyim. We're afraid, we also fear you.
What I love about this idea, and the way both of you developed it, is that it reminds us that humility isn't just a character trait. Maybe we're born with it, maybe we're not. It's not a personality. It's a gift. It's something that we can acquire and develop. It reminds me of something I read about the 12-step program and how it has been developed to help people with addiction. It's not a religious process, but one of the 12 steps is to recognize that there's a higher power.
Yeah.
And the fact that we see how effective this idea of humility can be in a practical way just reinforces the beauty of this idea that humility is not just something that's good to have, but it's a muscle that we can exercise. It's something that we can cultivate within ourselves in order to thrive better.
Beautiful. So there's something of a paradox in this pasuk when you put it next to and think about it in the context of the previous pasuk. Yaakov begins his tefillah to Hashem in this desperate moment. And he starts off by saying, Elokei avi Avraham, Elokei avi Yitzchak. So he's situating himself. He's saying, I come to you with zechus avos. I have merit from my father, from my grandfather. Ha'omer Elai, who said to me, Shuv la'artzecha u'lemoladetecha ve'etiva imach. You told me to go back to my land. Hashem, you told me I should go back. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going back to my land, to my birthplace. And you told me it'll be good for me. So the opening kind of posture here is, Hashem, how could I be suffering here? How can I be in danger? I'm doing what you told me. I have a legacy. I have my zechus avos, and I'm doing exactly what you told me to do, and you told me it would be good. So in a sense, he comes with a feeling of, I don't want to say the word entitlement, but it's like, Hashem, how could I be suffering when I'm doing what you told me to do, and you told me it would be good? And then the next pasuk is katonti mikol chasadim, which is, I'm unworthy, or I've used up all my merit, however we want to explain those words, but the next move, the next posture is a 180. It's, I don't deserve anything. And in fact, look how blessed I came from nothing. Look where I am now. You've done such kindness to me that I don't deserve. And I feel badly to ask you to come back to you and ask for anything more. So it's like a sense of, Hashem, do what you're promising me. And at the same time, Hashem, I don't deserve anything. And the psukim are actually really hard to meld together, but maybe that's just a kind of a tension. And two things we're supposed to always be holding. Hashem yitbarach tamid ohev otanu, like I'm part of the Jewish people. There's a haftacha, there's a promise, Hashem, and Hashem, fulfill your promise. And then also, Hashem, ma'ashiv Hashem, how could I ever repay you? I'm nothing. And that sense of humility and that sense of confidence, those two things are just two experiences we're always meant to hold together in some way. And they're just very stark, right? One pasuk after the other here.
I think you've identified the early seeds of what becomes fully developed by David HaMelech and Shlomo in Tehillim or in Koheles. Basically, what it means to be a mamin, to be a believer in Hashem, is to sometimes feel closeness and redemption and sometimes feel that, wait a second, what happened? I'm trying my best. Shouldn't I be getting more? Hashem, you make promises in the Torah, and we kind of live in like a certain dialectic. And Tehillim gives full voice to that. L'David Hashem Ori V'yishi, and how it radically changes from confidence to doubt, and because that's the life of a religious person. Koheles is all about the frustrations of living in this world and having different experiences that seem to be different than what the Torah promised us. I think you found it right here in Yaakov.
I was actually going to mention L'David Hashem Ori also in this context, so I'll just mention another passage from Tehillim. Two psukim which adjoin one another. Ma enosh ki tiskirenu v'en adam ki tifkedenu. What is man that you should even pay attention to him, Hashem? And the very next pasuk, v'atechasreyu me'at me'elokim, that really you've placed humankind only one step below HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chvodo v'atzmos, and we exist in both of those realities simultaneously, and it's important we always come to everything with that healthy dialectic.
Beautiful.
So I was really focused on the first word, katonti, and this notion, as Rashi explains it, that katonti, I'm diminished by everything that Hashem, all the kindness that you have given me so far, and I'm afraid maybe my credit's running out, and maybe I no longer deserve the support. And that's an idea which I've always struggled with. I've always had a hard time with, because we don't know what our account balance is in Shamayim. How are we supposed to learn from this idea that, maybe I'm finishing up my zechuyos? We never know. We never know what the balance is. And I found that this different approach, which I thought was so beautiful, and that is that katonti, when Yaakov says, I'm small, I'm humbled in the face of all the kindness that you have done for me, what he's really saying is, Hashem, you've done so much for me, like all on your own. And I want to be able to play a more active role in my redemption, in representing you in this world. And so you've done amazing things for me until now. You've saved me. But now I'm confronting my brother. I want to be able to confront him on my own, representing you. And so that's what it means. It means it's this idea, this motif of partnership, right? Hashem, you want us as partners in this world. Give me the opportunity. Give me more space. And the reason why I find this approach fits so beautifully is because that's really the life of Yaakov. Yaakov is someone who starts out life grabbing onto his brother's heel. He's holding on to someone else. His mother has to dress him up in someone else's clothing. He's someone who is more or less passive until he is forced to then take control of his life and his destiny. And Hashem validates that and recognizes it in this context when he names him Yisrael, Kisarisa, because you fought, became active. And so that's the tefillah that Yaakov's giving. I saw a beautiful observation from the Ran in the Drushos. We're familiar with the pasuk, V'zacharta ki Hashem Elokecha hu enosein lecha koach lasos chayo, right? You shall remember Hashem, your God, who gave you the strength to do great things. And the Ran observes that it doesn't say Hashem hanosein lecha chayo, right? Hashem who has given you great things. It's hanosein lecha koach lasos chayo, right? We should remember that Hashem gives us the ability, the capacity to be able to do great things. I actually saw this in the context of probably the greatest debate, the most important debate amongst the Jewish people today. And I usually don't like to speak in hyperbole, but I think this is the most significant debate amongst Jewish people today, and that is how Geula will unfold. What will redemption look like? For many Jews, we are passive in the Geula. It's up to Hashem to bring in the exiles and so on and so forth. And for many other Jews, or religious Zionists in particular, no, Geula, redemption is, yes, it's going to be driven by Hashem, but we can partner with Hashem in that Geula. And we can participate in our own redemption by moving to Israel, by building the state of Israel, by bringing Jews back to the Torah. And that really is the central debate nowadays, and it informs some very real questions and political situations in Israel. But for us, we should remember that Yaakov, whose name we bear as Bnei Yisrael, is the paradigm of how we're supposed to partner with Hashem in this world.
It actually explains beautifully why in next week's Parsha, beginning of next week's Parsha, when Yaakov asks begs, Bikesh Yaakov Lasheves Beshalva, Vayeshev Yaakov. Yaakov wants to live out the rest of his days in peace and just sit passively and just enjoy life.
Enjoy the grandchildren.
Enjoy the grandchildren. But Yaakov is Yisrael. He's meant to struggle.
Yeah.
And because we bear Yaakov's name, we bear Yisrael's name, Yaakov was meant to live out all of his days. Not necessarily struggling, but certainly not sitting idly by and letting the world come to him. We're actually supposed to struggle. We're supposed to actively participate and partner with Hashem in making the world a more perfect world.
Exactly.